Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Jimmy Brim. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for Woodford County Schools. What this short broadcast here is for is to take you through the Woodford County Public Schools Comprehensive District Improvement Plan for the 2016 school year. The plan itself is posted online, but in itself can be a tricky document to read. It's just the organization of it in the system that we put it in for the state can be a little complicated to read sometimes. So to help you with that, to make sure that we're able to communicate to across our community exactly what Woodford County Schools is doing to move forward, we wanted to make just a short video presentation here of what is included inside of our CDIP. We are, of course, always available for questions related to the CDIP, related to anything going on in our schools that we're doing to move student achievement forward. But we wanted to create this short informational session here so that you can see the strategies within it. So I wanted to pop myself up first so you have a face to the voice that's going to be talking to you. I know that's weird to listen to a presentation and never have seen the person that is speaking to you. So thought maybe it would help if I just brought myself up quickly. So I'm not an exciting backdrop, just from my office here at the board office. So nothing real exciting to look at. So we are going to put up some things on your screen there so you can see in this video exactly what is going on in Woodford County to move us forward. So I'm going to share my screen here. And as you see there is a PowerPoint that I'm going to move through here as quickly as possible, but I do want to make sure that I cover what we need to cover. So in a comprehensive district improvement plan, there are 6 goals that are required per the state of Kentucky: a proficiency goal, a gap closure goal, a novice reduction goal, a college career readiness goal, a graduation rate goal, and a next generation professionals goal that's related to our evaluation system. So Woodford County proficiency goal: increase the average combined reading and math proficient distinguished percentages for all students as measured through unbridled learning. As you can see there, the goal is in a 5-year period of time to increase the percentage of students proficient and distinguished so that we're moving towards 100%. So we're getting closer to 100% over a 5-year time by increasing the number by half. So 55 to 100%. If we could get halfway closer to 100%, that's 77.5% in 2019. Same way all the way through. So that's how you figure those goals there. Now below that are the goals for the immediate school year. And those are set by just marking. So if we're trying to get from 55% at the elementary level to 77.5% in 2019, we need to grow by about 3.5 percentage points each year to get to our goal. So that is how that is set for each year. So there's our proficiency goal. And again, there's a copy of this presentation online as well, so you can go through each slide slower and look at the individual goals. Gap closure goal: this is where we take the populations of students in our non-duplicated gap group. Non-duplicated gap group is where any student who falls in any of the populations that are typically underperforming. The largest group of students for this would be students identified for free and reduced lunch. So students who are identified as students on free and reduced lunch, that is a population that typically underperforms the all population. So they're considered students in the gap population. So any student who is in a gap population is identified by the state. So that can also be ethnic groups as well. This is their proficiency rate. So the same way it's figured for the all population, we want to get as closer to 100% so that we're cutting the number of students not proficient and distinguished in half every 5 years. So that's how those goals are determined. Novice reduction goal, same idea, you just take it the other way, right? So we're trying to get closer to 0. So we want to cut the number of students who are performing novice in half over a 5-year time. So in this example, or what we have on the screen right now in reading and math, the percentage of students novice in reading, we had 19.6 novice in reading in 2015. We want to cut that in half in 5 years to 9.8%. Now this slide, and obviously you're not going to be able to read this right now, but you'll have to go back, but just to explain so you know what you're looking at. Any population within the non-duplicated gap group. So you can see the non-duplicated gap group is right here. This is the all the students in the non-duplicated gap group. So what we want to do with all the population and cut that in half. So it's 25.6 to 12.8%. And then the 2016 goal of 23.4%. The key with these is that we then want to break it down into not only levels, so this is elementary non-duplicated gap population in reading, but then we also want to break it down into those populations that feed into that non-duplicated gap group. So again, as we mentioned before, the free and reduced population at the elementary level from 23.9 to 11.95. And then if you mark that out, we would need a 21.51% in the 2016 school year. So we break this out by level and by group. That's what all those different goals are there listed on your screen. Again, I realize you'd have to go through that. I'm not going to be able to look through that now, but understand how those are found. And then the same thing with math. You'll notice that the number of groups decline in math, even though for the most part it's the same student. But how this works is any population where there's 10 or more students performing at the novice level, we make a goal for. If there are not, we don't have a novice reduction. Basically, novice reduction doesn't need to be a focus because we don't have students performing in the novice level in that group. So we don't need a novice reduction goal for that group. That's why that number will change. So any population in the non-duplicated gap population with 10 or more students performing novice, we have listed out a goal for each level in reading and math. College and career readiness goal, increase the number of students who are college and career ready from 77% to 88.5%. That is determined largely by ACT scores as well as industry certifications and COSA testing. So if you have more questions on that, please feel free to email us and we can answer those. Graduation rate goal, we want to increase our four-year freshman graduation rate from 90.2 to 95.1 by 2020. Again, trying to cut it in half of students who are not graduating in 4 years over a 5-year period of time for the district. One thing we want to point out here in Woodford County is we chose to use the 4-year graduation rate goal as our goal because our 5-year graduation rate goal is right around 98%. It is in the top 5% in the state of districts for 5-year graduation rate goal, but our 4-year has a little bit more room for growth. Though accountability-wise, actually 5 years what's figured. So students that are not able to graduate in 4 years, which sometimes it just takes students a little longer to learn, we have done a great job in Woodford County at making sure we put supports in place so that they're able to graduate that 5th year. And that number is very high, and just 2 percentage points to grow there. We feel like the 4-year freshman graduation rate is where we are able to better focus moving forward. And next generation professional goals is the number of educators identified as proficient on our evaluation system. This is a required goal for the state, but one thing you'll notice is it just says from base value to goal value. This is the first year that we are all in on the new evaluation system, so we did not have goals. We don't have a base value. We'll set that this year, and then we'll come up with a goal value, but it has to be listed there. So this is something we're working on. We want our educators, obviously, to grow and improve. We have incredible teachers here in Woodford County. We would just want to make sure we're continuing to grow, all of us as professionals, administrators included in that, and that is why that goal is listed without specific targets, because we don't have a base value currently. So what I want to talk about is the goals that are actually in, or the strategies that are in our CDIP to help us meet those goals that we just went over. The overview of improvement in a district and in Woodford County is this multi-tiered system of support. And we have to understand that to really understand how our CDIP and the organization of our district is put together. A multi-tiered system of support is just exactly what's in the name, that everything you do is tiered. You have the bottom tier up to the top tier in which we work together to make improvements for students. In a perfect model, Tier 1 supports are what every student in our district receives. Tier 1 supports, or teachers, if we're talking about next generation professional goals. Tier 1 supports are those supports that we're going to do for every adult or student within our district. And the goal, when everything's going perfectly, is that 80% of students are able to reach proficiency just with tier one supports, proficiency or distinguish and make growth. We know that no matter how great of a job we're doing, there's always going to be part of the population who needs tier two supports, right? So just additional supports to get there. So that's 15% of the population. And then we know that on top of that, there are students who need tier three supports to reach those proficiency and growth goals. And that's 5% of the population. So this is important to realize, that nothing is ever going to be so good that 100% of students reach proficiency just because we do this. There's always going to have to be some students and some learners that need additional supports in order to reach that, and that's where we give additional supports. This is slightly different than the system many of us went to school in, which was the idea that we have students in the general education setting, this bubble. Then we have students in intervention such as reading recovery outside of general education. We have Title I that's giving supports off to the side, remedial reading off to the side, special education off to the side, and then these students who just kind of fall through the gaps. This is the system that we learned in for the most part. Under an MTSS system, all students get tier one. Within tier one, we know some students need additional, they get tier two. And even within that, we have some students that need more support and get tier three. So this graphic gives me an idea of the difference between the old system and the new system when we look at how we support student achievement. Everyone gets tier one. They're all in this bubble. Some get tier two, and then some need even more and get tier three supports. You can see how that's different than a prior system. I'd like to use a medical model to explain this a little better for people not in education. If you look at a healthcare analogy, tier one is what we all need to do. We need to work out, eat well, go get our checkup. We're screened. Our blood pressure is screened to make sure everything's going well, and then look for any symptoms of change that maybe signifies maybe a decline in our health. For the majority of the population, about 80% of the population, this is all we have to do healthcare-wise. Work out well, eat well, and get our checkup. Some people have other things going on, and they need additional supports like inexpensive diuretics or frequent monitoring. So they have high blood pressure. You go in for your checkup, your blood pressure is high. We need some sort of medicine to help us out, or possibly just more frequent monitoring of working out to make sure we're addressing that blood pressure. There are some people, in addition to that, who need even more. Those are our tier three structures. So they need more expensive medications, beta blockers, that's tier three. They still need to work out and eat well. They still need monitoring, but now they need even more support. Same thing we do in education. Hopefully tier one supports get 80% of people. We know that we have some students that need a little bit of more frequent monitoring and extra medicine. And then we know there are some students who need even more intense supports to catch them up so that they're able to make progress. So this structure is just a way to focus improvement and help give everyone a picture of where improvement efforts lie. So there's a little example of leveraged supports, not going to go over that there, but you can see where on both the instructional side and the behavioral side, we have those leveled supports. Critical features of this is high quality research-based instruction at all tiers, interventions with increasing intensity. We must monitor, just like the healthcare analogy. We have to have universal screening, systematic and frequent monitoring to determine responses, database decision-making, and again, the multi-tiered model to make sure we are moving forward. So we have organized our CDIP under this same framework, this tiered framework. And here are our strategies that we have within our framework. I'm going to go through each of these for you, but there's also a sheet I'll put up at the very end that explains them a little more, or explains them in words that you can look at. But all of our strategies to move our district forward in 2016 fall in this. So these are tier one strategies all students will get, so we continue to improve our tier one instruction. These are strategies at the tier two and tier three levels that are additional supports for students who need more than what tier one is. And these are supports that cross-cut tier one, two, and three off to the side here. So I'm going to go through and talk about each of these briefly. The first strategy to talk about here is MTSS itself, what I just went through and explained, and making sure that we're training our staff on MTSS so that every teacher and every professional within Woodford County understands what a multi-tiered systems of support is. So there continue conversations around the system and improving the system itself. So the system itself is part of our continuous improvement within the county, that understanding and improvement of that system is ongoing and analyzed. Coming back down to Tier 1 support here, literacy curriculum mapping is a strategy of support. So the data within Woodford County shows us that our students are able to perform even higher in literacy than what we're currently performing, both in terms of proficient distinguished students and reducing the number of students who are novice. So a big effort in Woodford County Schools in 2016 is looking at our curriculum maps within the district and making sure that we're truly using a balanced literacy program to accelerate the achievement of all of our students. So here is a graphic that we put together that shows the what it means to be an effective literacy student. You know, effective literacy is when listening, comprehension, and decoding meet together with effective fluency. And then writing is the glue that holds that all together. So we are working on our literacy curriculum maps to move that improvement forward so that we have a balanced literacy approach and ensuring that every student in our district gets all the components of literacy instruction, research-based, as we talked about with MTSS. All levels are research-based so that we can drive achievement forward. Next, we'll talk about instructional framework. Within that same vein is the idea of an instructional framework and training all the staff in Woodford County on a consistent instructional framework. An instructional framework is essentially what we feel like and what research shows us is the learning model for students to acquire new skills and learning and to move forward. And it's a gradual release of responsibility model that we'll be training staff on. It's nothing new. It's the same thing that we've known in education for 50 years, 100 years, in terms of what moves people into learning. It's a, I do it, we do it together, and you do it alone. So if we look at the release of responsibility, this is the teacher's responsibility. In the modeling part, the teacher takes on a lot of the responsibility, slowly moving it to the students. So we're doing it together. And then the students take on more and more responsibility to where they're able to do it alone, and the teacher takes less responsibility. That's the goal of learning. Obviously, we're teaching our students so that they're able to do whatever it is we're teaching them without the support of an adult, so they're able to go out in the world and learn those skills. A gradual release of responsibility model that we'll be training our staff on is important in that it allows teachers to continue to have the autonomy that they have to meet the individual needs of their classroom. But we know while adjusting strategies and instruction within each of these steps of the gradual release, we have to make sure that the segments of a lesson and what lessons look like are research driven. As again, we've talked about before, what research shows us is the learning model for success, and that students understand how school works every year. We're not changing the game. So going closely into this gradual release of responsibility model and ensuring a level of consistency with the structure so that students feel safe in the environment and know what learning looks like, while allowing teachers to have that autonomy that is so necessary to meet the individual needs of students. Next strategy, co-teaching expansion. And this is a Tier 1 model. In many of our classrooms right now, we have more than one teacher in there. Just having another adult in there is great, but that doesn't necessarily drive student achievement unless we're sure that the strategies we're using within that co-teaching environment are high yield. They're research-based as well. So we have a pilot that we tried that was in Woodford County last year called CT4GC, co-teaching for gap closure. And we are expanding that pilot this year to a group at the middle school and examining ways to expand that out across the district. So in the current CDIP version, it is just about expanding that pilot to a larger group as we look at how to roll it out even wider and refine those structures to make sure that we are maximizing all co-teaching environments within our district. PBIS is also a Tier 1 structure, and this is more on the behavioral side, and just want to emphasize that we know that if the behavioral side of the child or the classroom or the school is not taken care of, it is a direct influence on the ability of that child or classroom or school to make achievements in terms of academics. So they are definitely connected and correlated. So on the behavioral side, we have had the ability to have a grant within Woodford County that we are utilizing to improve and expand our positive behavioral interventions and supports, and looking at not only academically, how are we teaching students the skills they need to succeed, but how behaviorally are we teaching students. And we are utilizing within the district a second steps curriculum for social emotional learning, so that every student K-5 in Woodford County over the next 6 years will have instruction on social and emotional learning in addition to their academic learning, so that we can ensure that all students have the abilities for success, not only academically, but also behaviorally and emotionally, in dealing with their emotions moving forward, and discussing ways to improve Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports for students in the behavioral system. Progress monitoring pilot. We are curriculum-based measures. We have universal screening, but many times universal screening will show that students have additional needs or haven't made necessary progress. So when that happens, as we did with the medical model, we have to look deeper at what is going on with that student. That is where curriculum-based measures come in. So they're more, instead of just taking the blood pressure and your temperature and your weight, you go into the individual areas of possible issues and you run tests. The same way a doctor runs tests in the medical field. In education, we have to run tests to see where is the student's problems. You know, if they're having literacy issues, that's a broad, you know, they're not making reading achievement. Is it phonics? Is it decoding? Is it comprehension? Is it fluency? Many different levels. So we have to make sure we have accurate measurements so we can determine what students need so that they can make the next steps. And that's where progress monitoring comes in. So we are looking at different software. We currently use Ames Web. Whoa, we went flying there, sorry. We currently use Ames Web for progress monitoring. And we're looking at expanding that possibly to more students. Just about 20% of our students currently are monitored with Ames Web, or seeing if there's some better software out there so that we can get better diagnostic tests for our students. Expanded credit opportunities also at Tier 2 and 3. Though this isn't necessarily students who aren't making achievement, we just know it's not necessarily to meet the needs of all students. That's what makes it a Tier 2 and 3, is looking at additional credit opportunities for our high school students. So we have the traditional credits at Woodford County High School. We have a Georgetown opportunity and Asbury opportunity already in place for dual credit, where students are in high school credit and college credit at the same time. These are both credit opportunities at these colleges. We send students to Georgetown, we send students to Asbury during the school day to take college classes where they get high school credit. But we're also looking at some dual credit opportunities within the high school, go to college and high school, as you can see there, where we could possibly teach college courses at Woodford County High School using some of our own instructors who have hours or degrees that allow them to be college instructors. So instead of just taking English 4 at Woodford County High School, you'll be taking college English within a classroom at Woodford County High School with Woodford County instructors. One area of expanded credit opportunities, also looking at a digital platform, APEX, and this can be used for AP courses. There are AP courses on here, so if a student at our high school was interested in AP Latin, we probably don't have enough students interested in AP Latin to make a course. It takes about 25 to 30 students to make a course. But if one student wanted AP Latin, well, Apex Learning is an online environment that we are exploring using for our students and piloting currently, so that they're able to individualize some of those credits and get the credits they need, even if the class as a whole can't make, in using that digital platform. ACT testing, intervention, exposure. A couple things with this. We know that students perform better on the ACT when they have the exposure to it, just meaning they understand the test. So the ACT is able to truly test knowledge of content and not test a student's ability to navigate the ACT. So just having the opportunity to see the ACT is a positive prior to having to take it in real time. So we're looking at a number of programs. We've used method test prep within our high school the last few years, but we are piloting CERT, College Equipped Readiness Tool, which gives students the opportunity to take some practice ACTs and then target interventions specifically to their needs to grow forward. What we've seen in data is our method test prep use has been very effective with our students nearing benchmark, so they're nearing those benchmark levels, but students already exceeding benchmark, we haven't really seen the growth by using method test prep. We're hoping CERT can do that. But more so, we're looking at making sure that every student in Woodford County Schools, regardless of financial situation, has the opportunity to see ACT-like assessments before that state test their junior year and have the exposure necessary to level the playing field. So when everyone sits down in March of their junior year to take the actual ACT, it's not the first time they've seen an ACT test, and they know what to expect so that they can truly show what they know and not get lost in just trying to learn how the test is set up. Professional learning communities, and you can see again where this falls throughout. Professional learning communities, this is this cross-cuts everything because it's about putting a process in place to what it takes to move all student achievement forward. And using our most valuable resource in Woodford County Schools is our students. Our second most valuable resource in Woodford County Schools are our incredible teachers. So professional learning communities, continuing to learn about those, train on those, and utilize those in our schools is about putting a process to using our most precious resources, which are when our teachers get together and talk about our students, where we teach, we collaborate, we exchange ideas, and we learn. And here's the planning cycle that we use. And basically, it's what do we want students to do? What do we want them to learn? How do we know when they learned it? What do we do when they've already learned it? What do we do when they don't have it? How do we intervene? And making sure we're taking that rather organic process of using educators' minds together and putting a process behind it and driving that forward. So we're spending a lot of time right now training staff, talking to staff about that process and making sure we're not just hoping it happens, but putting expectations and processes in place across our district to make sure that our professional learning communities are truly about educators meeting together to talk about what students have to do to succeed and how we can do that as educators. Professional learning supports, we've seen from our TEL survey scores that as a district, we need to tailor professional learning to meet the needs of our educators. We have learning opportunities available, but they are not always individualized enough for individual teachers. So we are looking at ways to individualize professional learning across our district. This is definitely still in the early stages of how to do this well. The size of our district, we have to oftentimes use other districts for financial reasons as well as number reasons to really individualize professional supports within our district. So just really trying to respond to that what educators have told us and KEA has told us that we need more individualized learning supports for our teachers so that we can continue to improve our second most important asset in our district, our teachers, with our students being our first greatest asset. Data meetings, one thing we have great data here in Woodford County Schools. We have great data systems, great data platforms to look at data, but we always have to improve what we're doing with data. This is a goal that's gonna always be within Woodford County Schools CDIP and should be in everyone's CDIP because we always have to do better with what we're doing with data. So making sure that we continue to talk about the Plan, Do, Study, Act. We make a plan, we implement the plan, we look at the data to see what the plan has done, and then we act on it. Very similar to the professional learning community slide we showed earlier, that's what a data meeting does. It makes sure that we're looking at areas of major challenge from areas of strength and then making next steps and continuing to improve what is already a good process in Woodford County that will always remain an important piece. And finally, leadership development, which again goes across all levels. Research shows us that there are the leaders within a district and within a school are absolutely critical to the success of all students. So we know we have to not only pour professional learning supports into our teachers, our second most important asset, but our principals and our district leadership as well, and tailor learning so that our leaders can grow and improve and make next steps so that they can continue to improve student achievement. So number of initiatives we're using within that as well. And one of those is the National Institute for School Leadership, which we are piloting in this district with training some individuals to be trainers for NISL so that we can expand that out across our district and ensure that the leaders within the district have the absolute highest level of training and expertise when it comes to leading schools, leading districts, and moving student achievement forward. So that's our CDIP and the strategies within it. Now, I talked about those goals at the beginning of the presentation here and how they all align. These are the goals out here. So we have the proficiency goal, the gap goal, the novice goal, college and career readiness, graduation rate goal, and next generation professionals. And here are all the strategies we just went over. So the literacy curriculum mapping, for example, we know goes through a number of goals. That's going to help us reach these 5 areas. If we do literacy well, our proficiency rate's going to go up, our gap is going to get closed, our novice scores will go down, we'll have more students college and career ready, and that will improve our graduation rate. So you can see how we've aligned these. So if you look at the actual CDIP itself, you'll see the same strategies under each goal, but it's the same strategy. We're not going to try to do 75 different things. We're going to do very powerful things that help us reach a number of goals, and that's what this chart helps to lay out for you. This chart is also posted online, which I'm going to pop up here for you real fast. There we go. So this chart here, again, it lays out the explanation a little bit more for you. Again, this will be posted for you as well, what we just went over and how they meet everything. So hopefully I'll pop back up here. Hopefully that helps give you an idea of the current focus efforts. Again, a CDIP is not everything that we're doing in Woodford County Schools. There are countless things that we do every day for our kids and our community to make sure that Woodford County Schools continues to be a district of excellence and a district that this county can continue to be very proud of, as Woodford County Schools definitely is a highlight to the community and a major point of pride that we definitely do not take lightly. So we're always doing more than this, but these are our current focus efforts. Again, I encourage, if you have any questions regarding what we're doing in Woodford County, regardless of the CDIP or anything, please contact me again. My name is Jimmy Brem here at Central Office. You can get my information on the website as well. Please give us a call or please email any questions that you might have. We also have a district improvement committee that meets each quarter to talk about next steps. So we'll have another one that comes out in 2017 and similar strategies with additional ones. We look at data and talk about what the next steps are for the district. So that committee meets quarterly as well, but I lead that committee. So anything you would like that committee to discuss, you may pass my way as well. Thank you.